Hello and welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is someone I've been dying to talk to, LNebraska. Thanks for coming to the Sanctuary today.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, first off, your content is amazing, but something that people don't really highlight is, because like the photos and videos are great, but I love the writing too. And I'm like, I'm one of those few people that kind of starve for your writing. So why don't you write as much as the, I guess, the photos and the videos?
Oh, it's one of those things when I put a writing up, it is typically something having a background in writing that I put a lot of time into. I don't just type directly into a post. I'll actually go into Microsoft Word, generate it, edit it, go over it multiple times because, they're extensive as you've seen. It's usually not just a quick, 3-minute read or a quick blurb. It's usually something that I have to think about that I actually, cite and reference material. I want it to be something people can actually reference. And to do that, the old school guy who wrote for my degree gets into it. I throw my back into it. So I'm going to be doing more. I keep getting requests for more. And it's really fulfilling, when you get messages privately from people who say, hey, this helped me identify a problem that I didn't realize was a problem, or this helped me identify a condition in my partner that may be catastrophic. I can't stay around in this relationship. So to do that, you got to be willing to throw your back into all that work. And it can be, in between life, a job, and everything else, very, very time consuming. But I'm glad you said something, and I'm glad you actually read that stuff.
Oh no, I do. And it actually starts from the profile itself. Like, there's a lot of thought that went into that, and how you break it up, the man, the reckoning, the mission,
Yeah.
logistics, all that stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a far cry from what that thing started as. I mean, it was just a very basic, I'm here because I want to look around, about me section. And one day I just was like, enough. Like, this has to be more of a representation of who I am if I'm going to put myself out there.
So let's rewind it. How did the journey even start for you?
Oh, well, yeah, it's interesting. A lot of it comes back to some of the writings that I had on narcissistic personality disorder, the conditions that you saw listed in that stuff. My ex had some inexplicable, very, very heavy need for attention, and it hit a point where I was literally asking people around who I knew, what. I cannot give this person enough attention. I can't, like I have to. I'm at the point of literally outsourcing it, and so the lifestyle became an option. It wasn't even about me, and we got into that whole journey. Found a basic club in town, went there, and it was really just we don't even know how this is going to go. It was a jump right in kind of situation for the beginning of that journey. And as time went on, I actually found myself in a situation where I was able to expand and spread my own wings and get out there and try some of the more, initially very tame same room play with my partners and that kind of thing. It went further and further away, and I eventually realized the marriage wasn't going to be sustainable. It was far more than just I need attention. It was a much deeper issue, mental health issue, and ultimately I ended up engaging in the split, starting it off and getting a divorce finalized and getting out. But I continued, and I didn't think it was going to go well because as a single guy, it can be very, very difficult. Especially, you're in midlife. You're not, by the standards of society, you're no longer in your prime years. And
Right.
more wrong. It continued to get better and better. I started looking for actual opportunities to work with content creators, take some of the photography and editing skills that I had, and put them to use for other people in their content. And it just grew way beyond what it was supposed to be. That page was just supposed to be an outlet and a reminder that I had, age didn't matter. I've arrived, I've got here. And then lo and behold, people took notice and decided they liked what I was putting out there and kind of gave them something to shoot for. So here we are.
Yeah, you have thousands and thousands of people. Like, how do you manage and navigate that? Because I think one thing that stands out for me is like you're saying don't just take in or consume what I'm creating, but be actively, there's a line, active prey something. Active prey is, I
Oh,
can't remember that line, but
I'll, let me see. I'll look while we're talking about it. But yeah, you gotta be lively. You got to get into it. You got to want to get out there and do the same things. And the easy way out is the one kind of message I get a lot of that I try to kind of thwart, and that is like, "Hey, can you help me meet people?" It's like, for multiple reasons, it's never going to go well. you know,
yeah, yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
you from Moses, and on and on and on. I tell folks, but when people ask me like, how are you able to do this, how are you able to make this work the way you do, I always tell them, messaging people blindly who you don't know is not a high probability of success move. Your best bet is to find events in your local area or travel to other events in areas within feasible distance of you, to get out and let them see who you are, because until further notice, you're just a username and a bunch of script on a page. That's it.
Mm,
And there is just, nobody's gonna typically take a chance with anybody until they've had a very extensive conversation with you, and that involves even having a message notice, which, as you know, can be very, very difficult. People have lives. There's thousands of messages in some of these inboxes, and you're going to get buried pretty fast. It takes something miraculous for you to really stand out quickly. And I think the line you're talking about, there's no room for timidity when pleasures of the flesh when pleasures of the flesh are the prey that we pursue. And that is my way of saying you better step up. Like, you got to put yourself out there. You
mm,
got to show what you are, within the context of this page. And then when people go to events and they see you and you introduce yourself, boom, they have something memorable that you put in their mind
mm.
about you. Hopefully, if they don't remember you at all, you can give them something to look at. But yeah, it's taking your talents and things that you do and putting them into the context of this lifestyle world. If you're willing to learn how to do impact hopping, if you do good video, make yourself stand out with one of those things that you're good at, and that's kind of what I'm at.
So you did mention, with content creators using your editing and photography background. Let's talk a bit about that. How do you get into photography and video?
So photography kind of runs in my family. My dad is an excellent still photographer, but he made his name in the world doing videography for various outlets. And the basics are the same. A camera is nothing more than a tool to capture light, whether it's your phone, a video camera, an actual DSLR or mirrorless camera. They're all ultimately do the same thing, right? But the thing is, learning composition is what matters. The most memorable photos, some of them are from the 1800s on really grainy old black and white film print, and they still stand the test of time because it's how they put the image together and what they captured in that instant when the shutter clapped. So, um, photography for most people does not have to involve super expensive outsourced equipment to make it good.
Mm,
I suggest if you're trying to take good shots and you just don't have that natural knack, that you take a class where someone teaches you the elements of design. And that is how you get there. That's what sets photographs apart. I have tons of pictures on my cell phone that are some of my best pictures, nowhere near as expensive of a investment as a quality mirrorless DSLR camera and good lenses. So you can do it. You gotta put in the effort to learn how to put the picture together.
yeah, I mean, so composition, lighting, all these things, and
Mhm.
the experience you build over the years, it kind of goes out the window when you are making that very first content with a content creator. So, like, how do you take all these things, all these things that's innate in you, and all this experience you have, and combine it by having fun and experience with a person and shoot it? How do you navigate that?
It's a great question because people think, oh, I just jump in there and start shooting stuff, and it doesn't go that way at all. Just like for any professional shoot, I actually make shot lists. I sit in my phone, open a notepad document, and then I will actually go, what would look good, and I also try to tailor it to the individual, right? So if I have someone who's into outdoor work or doing stuff outside, like I recently worked with Shocky Cast from FetLife, and her calling card is kind of like naughty behavior in public, naughty behavior in outside spaces. All right, well, I need to take a stare at the things she's already done and either try to enhance those kind of things that she's done in the past by doing a similar but different, better, whatever version of that with something else, or I got to take it a totally different direction and try to fill in gaps for content that she doesn't have. So that list is going to
Mm-hmm.
be driven by those things, right? And you start thinking in your head of like, gee, this angle would look good in that environment because it shows something a little more raunchy or it shows something a little more fun going on, without compromising yourself or doing something illegal, of course, because that could that could go very poorly. But
Mm-hmm.
um, that's the way to do it. You don't try to figure it out when you get there. You should be thinking about that stuff as soon as you understand you have a collaboration coming up and scheduled. That is step one. Write it down. Keep your phone on you. If something pops in your head when you're just walking from point A to point B, put it there while it's fresh because you will not remember it with the rest of the day stuff, clogging your brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the other thing, I mean, at the end of the day, still the internet. There's still like wild, crazy people out there. What is your vetting process?
Yeah, I typically look for people who are established. If I'm going to go into the content world, and this is not, just me out finding somebody interesting out there who I'd like to meet because um, I'd use the same tactics instinctively that a lot of other content creators have told me they use, and that is you see who else they worked with within their page, right? You look down,
Ah.
working with other quality content producers who have clearly have a good enough reputation to keep getting recommendations from others, continue to get pushed along. That's a really good way to do it. Are they making content that looks like something you want to be involved with whatever that is? And making sure that your boundaries and limits within what's shown are obviously going to be respected, and vice versa. That they're into stuff that you're into. It saves you a lot of headaches and discongruence of idea and what you want to do. So that's a big way that I like to vet. If it's just a person I simply want to meet, it's totally obviously going to have to be different. Messaging back and forth, a lot of conversation. Ultimately, if I just meet somebody who I haven't met before and haven't seen at an event, I'm either going to invite them to an event or I'm going to invite them someplace public and we sit somewhere. Because you're absolutely right. I think a lot of men in particular take it very lightly that, oh, I'm meeting someone new. And it's like, yeah, you don't know. I don't have anybody at my house on the first go ever. That could go really badly if they're not who they say they are. And,
Right, right. I watch too much TV and it's a very scary,
I was a child of
scary.
the 80s, man. Every horror movie starts with somebody ending up at your house who's not supposed to be there. So,
Exactly.
yeah, that is not the way to
Exactly.
do
So, and then I think even you've talked to someone that worked with before. I think in your content there is this level of trust and fun. It's like yes, we're working, but it's still like the two people or the partners are involved with. Everyone is having fun. Like, how do you create such a fun environment in your content?
Yeah, that's again, that's going to come down to matching personality as well, typically. And then once you see something cool start happening, continue to roll with it. I've done shoots where it was just like, oh, I'm sitting on a bed with somebody and we're doing some particular act, and then my other partner comes home and I'm like, hey, get showered, come on, and they jump in, and just the nature of like pulling other people in was one way I've done it in the past who are just are of the same ilk as we all are, or you just got to let those ideas as you roll. There is a degree of spontaneity to it. Like no matter what you write down, other stuff may come up, and then you find props in the
Hmm.
room, like oh, grab that water glass, um, and or oh, you kept that coffee carafe in your hand the whole time. That's going to become a thematic, and then we laugh our asses off as we're going up this mountain. With the one lady in particular, realizing we've suddenly by accident in the first few shots made her coffee container like part of the scene, and then stuff became like her taking drinks of the coffee, and it was just great. You gotta, yeah, it's like this is stupid. Oh man, we're in the woods, grab those flowers, put that in your hair, so just involving the environment and having a set idea of what you want to do, but the flexibility to evolve with what you have available in the moment, I think, is the best way to keep it fun.
Yeah, and then another thing that also comes through is how comfortable your partners are. How do you build that level of comfort?
Yeah, that's critical. I think again, if it's somebody I just know and we're gonna play or do whatever, the standard rules of discussing boundaries ahead of time apply, and that carries right over into content creation. Like, are you good with anal? Are you good with X, Y, Z? You need to know that stuff before you get on camera, because if you have a shot list of stuff that they're not going to want to do or that's going to eliminate a lot of it, you kind of blow it. So that conversation should happen just like any other case, well in advance, regardless of if it's just fun play or you're putting something on film.
Mm, mm, another thing you do is there's like this playful vibe that you have. Is it from you? Is it from the partner? Is it from those particular scenes that you're creating?
I think I am a naturally kind of fun driven person who tries to find comedic humor in everything. I don't know how much you see my captions. There's a lot of pun happening in there, like really cheesy lines. That's just personally how I'm cut, man. Um,
Okay, okay.
I,
Yeah,
I've
because it
always
comes through in everything you do from the writing to the content. I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Another thing that also stands out is that you're well learned. It shows in the things you write, but also, you travel a lot. You've been many continents. Like, where did the love for traveling come from, and what do you love about traveling?
Yeah, without giving too much away as far as my job, I did for the last 20 years been traveling for work a lot. And that is a gift, like to have your way paid to go places on someone else's dime is a great thing. And then once I'd get out there as opportunity allowed, now I'm within range of this place or this place. And I would just kind of take short, cheap flights to other places, and it just kind of ballooned out that way. So one trip would turn into four, or, you'd see four different places or countries or whatever. And in some cases, extended trips turned into like life connections that were, sometimes 4 months or more long. It was beautiful. It really was a lot of fun to get out and do that. And that has been the primary vehicle by which I've been able to travel. And that is a lucky break with my job.
Mm. Honesty is also something that comes out. You put that in your writing, you put that in your profile. Why is that important to you?
Oh, I can't, again, I was in a marriage where there was a lot of dishonesty, and it was stuff that you just simply look at and go, oh, like, why would my partner ever lie about that? And you don't realize there's other stuff going on in there that they can't help. I don't want to turn this into any kind of finger pointing thing, but like I hit a state where it was like, wow, I'll simply never tolerate that again. I escaped this, and I will not tolerate people who aren't honest in general. And as it comes to sexuality, it's not necessarily my business what they want to reveal that they're into, but the more that they're willing to reveal to me, the more fun we can have. So the second part isn't necessarily like a nefarious, I'm trying to hide something from you, but people who can put out there more and more of the deep dark stuff on the inside that they've really wanted to try. It lets me give them a better opportunity with me, to be able to meet those needs. That's why.
Yeah, I was reading that too, and and correct me if I'm wrong, but something that I picked from that was that you have this facilitator mentality. Like, there's this thing you want. I'm go like a genie, like
Hmm.
I'm going to make that thing happen, but you
Yeah.
have to say what it is.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
there's no guarantee it's going to fall within something I'm willing to do. You know what I mean? But it is absolutely a joy to be able to take someone who's repressed something or never had a person willing to help them through that particular fantasy or whatever, to be that person for them when I can. And that's the big
mm,
part of it. Like if I don't know, we can't go. So I want to be able to hear what you like and make it work. If I can do it, I will. But we all have boundaries. We all have stated limits. Some people think they want to try something, and the moment they back out, that's okay. You know,
mm.
I do not pressure push someone to do something just because I want to do it or they said they wanted to do it. Now here I am. You have the right to step away from that idea at all times. That's the big thing.
If you were to come up with, I guess, ideas or suggestions to why, in your case, in your um past relationship, it was because you felt the partner needed more attention, but like in the couples that you play with, what are some of the reasons you see why, like, there's a hot wife bull situation? What are some reasons you think that is something that is a need or a craving for these couples?
Oh, boy. You know, I, thinking about the need for them, that's another one where I strongly suspect, and I can't speak for the mindset because truthfully I haven't asked too much about it. I suspect that has been typically with those couples a lot to uh, to try to get out there, and they haven't had a venue for it. It's not something you can bring up at work,
E-
um, and they finally have this outlet. They finally have a place to connect with people willing to engage that. And as that becomes a, something they start seeing interest in and building up, I think that is like the ultimate reckoning for somebody who wants to get into it. It's like, wow, we could never talk about this. We can't bring this up with coworkers. We would have a really big risk involved in bringing it up with friends. So they get here and they go, boom, we've got it. And once they build that up to that point and they have this experience, it's like, oh gosh, I want more. Like, and they keep rolling with it. So if coming into that, for me, it was more of a fascination from my side of it, doing the bowling of, wow, like this is real. I'm kind of in a special place for these people. And
Mm.
the notion of even just wanting to witness that dynamic, it was so foreign to me. And it's like any other learning experience. It's like I wanted to even. I remember one time I asked a dom in another state. I told her, I said, "Hey, you can tell me no. Obviously, this is. I'm sure you've been asked this, but I just want to see you as a dom work in your space." I was totally new to this game. I had never seen a woman work as a dominant in a closed setting, and I fully expected her to tell me, "Get out of here." It's not going to happen. No, it went the other way completely. She's like, "All right, well, if you're going to be here, you're going to be involved." So it went from I'm going to watch to she's like, "No, you're going to help me humiliate my boyfriend." So it turned into a whole thing. It was a great time, but I was just blown away by the learning experience, and the things I got to see in that room were nothing up to that point I had ever seen.
Mm,
You know.
mm. What another thing that like bears freak me the fuck out. So that was a line I saw in your profile. Like I need to ask him about the bears. What is the story there?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So that was actually I'd gone fishing on a river in Alaska, and I'm standing there and I look up, and as we're coming in, my guy gave me the rides. I go, there's some bears over there, and there was a mom and some cubs across the river, and she was like GPS collared the whole bit, like somebody in the state had set her up to be tracked. And then I get to a totally different stretch of the river, and as I'm sitting there, there's a huge sow coastal brown bear just is kind of swimming along, picking off, salmon out of the river, bringing them to the
Mm.
bank. And as she was coming up to the bank, I looked to my left. There's three cubs walking within like 10 yards of me. And
Wow.
they didn't care, and she didn't care, and it was all good. But I mean, when I tell you, it was the closest encounter I've had with animals that size. The cubs
Yeah.
were just huge. They were not little tiny, cute cartoon bears. They were good sized cubs, and mom was
Holy
absolutely
shit.
enormous. Yeah, yeah,
That's
she didn't care.
crazy.
She didn't care. She's just like, I've seen a million fishermen, man. It's all good. Like, wow.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, I need to find out. Talking about bears, and one thing again that also comes across from your content is consistency.
Hmm.
Like, why do you think these partners stick with you this long or always come back over the years?
Yeah, I think it's you don't realize this until you are involved in this and you hear stories and other exchanges. I am the same person I am when you meet me, and if you get along with me, there's no shape shifting, there's no change in personality because I wasn't using some kind of love bombing bait tactic to get you to do work with me. I am exactly who I am from day one, and that stays the same. And within those writings I showed you, unfortunately, I've experienced a lot of bad stuff, as far as not even sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, with people miscasting themselves, and then one day this monster comes out. It's a real thing you have to be very careful of. As your popularity grows as a guy, I never foresaw the amount of like attempted sabotage. People start inboxing the girls in your pictures saying they know someone who said you're a terrible person. And when you're a consistent character to these people, when you're someone who they know is not that person, it makes it much easier for them to come to you and be like, "Hey, this guy's running around talking all this trash," and then I can intervene. You can intervene, or at the very least blow it off. But
Mm.
yeah, if you're working in this and you get enough of a followership, I unfortunately can guarantee you're gonna have people trying to bring you down. It's just how it is. At least 4 or 5 times this year, I've had people I don't even know just start trashing me to other people in the world. I mean, other states. Like, I was like,
I
I don't even.
never, yeah,
This guy
like,
claims he knows
I
me.
don't
Yeah.
understand hate. I don't understand hate. It doesn't make sense because it's not adding anything to the person's life to hate. So
Oh, it's either they're trying to take what you
What
have
are
or
some
they don't
reasons
want
you
it.
think they do stuff like that?
Oh yeah, they either want what you have, right? They're either directly trying to solicit the people you see tagging your pictures,
Right.
or their mindset is, well, if I can't have it, I'm just going to ruin it for him. And I mean, it's a
Oh, right,
consistent
right,
pattern of
right.
behavior that I've learned to spot. You start figuring out, who's going every single girl in your pictures and inboxing them very quickly. You learn there's ways to get that information, and it just is bizarre. You'll get blocked, and they suddenly start using burner accounts to go through your account because they don't want you knowing that they're going in. I mean, it's really, really very creepy behavior.
That's
Um,
so much work, though. That's so much work.
it's a lot of work, but the good news is they all do the same stuff. Like it's
Oh
always
my
just some
god.
variation of the same really toxic behavior, and you just can sense the anger as they're going along. And in some cases, like they start trashing you on the page of the person they're after openly, and it's like, what? Oh, I had to block some guy. He said something really shitty about you. It's like, I
Oh my
okay,
god.
like whatever, man. I've left some of them up. It's funny. They come to my page and they're like, they think that they're commenting on the page of the woman in the picture, and they make some really disparaging comment about me. And I'm like, hey, man, that's awesome. I have no intention of deleting this. I'm going to leave it right here so everyone can see what you wrote. And it's just funny. Some of them just, delete and run away, change their profile name real quick. It's just so funny to see.
Right. Oh, it's insane.
That's a regular one. Yeah, yeah. They'll say, hey, you got to have a thick skin in this game, man. You understand that?
Yeah. Something that comes to mind. I mean, you're creating the content, but like one thing that actually also comes true is this ability to make every other person involved in the scene like part of it. That's kind of difficult to do. Maybe they've worked together before or not, but just like how do you make everyone involved? They've scenes with not just you, there are more people. Like,
Oh, yeah.
how do you make that so smooth?
Yeah, no, in many cases it's not even me. Like I have some really wonderful partners who have done some incredible stuff to
Mm.
bring people together on my behalf. And you saw some recent pictures from a party where there were like, seven women in one picture. It was just that was all my partner, who she got all of this stuff put together, um, all people I've worked with in the past. So it's not like a blind solicitation, and we were all going to be at the same place at the same time. But that a lot of times it's them, not me. In other cases, it is me. Like I've had people fly out from other states, and then next thing you know, certain people are around that can participate, and we try to just make best use of resources within the comfort level of whoever the co-creator or co-creators are. And if you
Mm,
got people who are willing and available, anything's possible, and that's how you make
mm.
that.
Wow. Yo, I mean, I knew this was gonna be an interesting conversation, but I also know you are a very, very busy person, so I'm not gonna steal too much of your time. I'm gonna like say, with all the experience you've had so far, if someone was just beginning their journey today, or recently after listening to this podcast, what advice would you have for them?
Don't get desperate. Be patient. Especially if your venue is something like FetLife, right? You're gonna have to give it time. Uh, Even more so if you're a guy. It's just the reality of the world. There's. Uh, I think I did like some kind of correlation a while back, and it's like couples on FetLife that I was looking at. Typically, the female had literally 10 times the number of followers that the guy had. And again, I tell these guys in particular, hey, you can't worry about it. Like you cannot let it get to you. You have to have a thick skin yet again. Um, and just keep pushing and keep putting content that is meaningful. If you're trying to do it for a content driven thing, having a niche is very important. You want to have something that stands out about your stuff, whether it's a certain type of photography, a certain thematic, like you guys are always doing stuff in a kitchen. Build based on what you're trying to do. If you're just trying to have fun and meet good people and hopefully turn it into some kind of adventure for yourself, sexually or otherwise, it's a whole different approach, like I said. But events, using that events tab is like the most underused tool. Like, I don't think enough new people realize if you show yourself in person, you make yourself more than pictures, it's a lot easier. The pictures are a great way to showcase what you're about, but they're not the best. Using the site itself as a meeting tool via messaging is not really the most efficient use of time. It just isn't.
Mm.
So that's where I would lean.
Wow. That's dope. Okay, so last one. What's next for El Nebraska?
Yeah, it's going to be a great month. I'll keep the secret of who, but I have two upcoming collaborations this month that are going to be really good with past creators who I've worked with, and one of them I actually share the same birthday, so that's turning into a whole birthday celebration coming
Oh
up.
my god.
Yeah, so we are getting together, and that's going to be a really really great time. Cannot wait. They're both outstanding creators who I've been with on that page before. So stay tuned on that. We will make sure we get that stuff up as soon as we can.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, and I wish you happy birthday in advance. And thank you so much for sharing. We need more writing. We need more
Yeah,
writing,
I
and
know. I
thank you
know. I
so
got to
much
stick
for
to it,
coming to
man.
the podcast today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I'm truly honored, and I really appreciate you giving me the time to talk on your show.